Issa, you have been here in France since 2017. You are a lawyer here, and you just mentioned that the law that you study in Brazil and come here and do your masters, you can actually work here as a lawyer. Being in the journey for 7 years in France, what are the hardships that you have faced personally?
When you come as a student, everything seems very nice and easy. Then it comes the time to renew your visa. Your administration is very difficult. You don't understand how the law works. Then you figure that out. Now you're studying. Even though the Brazilian and the French law are very similar, French people organize their thoughts in a very different way than Brazilians. So for the exams, you have to learn a whole new way of explaining, of organizing and presenting your thoughts. Then you have to find yourself a job here. And that is not easy as a foreigner. I already spoke good French because I used to work with French companies in Brazil. Still, you have your accent. People are not sure how much you actually speak, how much you actually understand of the law. So finding my first internship was not that easy.
Hi everyone, I'm Rain Augustine from Community Impact. Being in the law firm for almost 10 years, I have seen firsthand how family law works. And it's not easy all the time. There are times that where you feel sad, but you have to be very affirmative. I have the pleasure to interview this amazing, gorgeous girl from Brazil who lives here in France, Isadora Alvarenga. Hi, Issa.
Hi, hello.
Issa, how do I say your name? Isadora or Issa?
You can call me Isa, but the full name is Isadora.
Isadora. I know Dora the Explorer.
Yeah, like that.
Like that, yeah. Issa, you have been here in France since 2017.
Yes, yes.
And you are a lawyer here.
Yes.
And you just mentioned that the law that you study in Brazil and come here and do your masters, you can actually work here as a lawyer. Being in the journey for 7 years in France and doing the family law, what are the hardships that you have faced personally?
Well, the first hardship is coming to France and immigrating here. When you come as a student, everything seems very nice and easy. Then it comes the time to renew your visa, your titre de séjour. Administration is very difficult. You don't understand how the law works. Then you figure that out. Now you're studying. Even though the Brazilian and the French law are very similar, French people organize their thoughts in a very different way than Brazilians. So for the exams, you have to learn a whole new way of explaining, of organizing and presenting your thoughts. That also, then you have to find yourself a job here. And that is not easy as a foreigner. I already spoke good French because I used to work with French companies in Brazil. I did an exchange here, so I already had a certain level of French.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, I came here already like with a C2, which is the highest one. But still, you have your accent. People are not sure how much you actually speak, how much you actually understand of the law. So finding my first job here, my first internship was not that easy. After you find the first one, I feel people start to feel confident that if you did one, you can manage to do the others.
Yeah.
But then still, it's a difficult market. You have obviously other lawyers, so integrating in the market, learning all the social culture, because French people are certainly quite different. So I think there were many from the administration, the job market, and the social etiquette of how things work here.
Okay, now you mentioned that French people are different from Brazilian, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody is different. Every culture is different. Every person working ethic is different. I always make joke that, okay, if I call, like, example, India, whenever I call for any paperwork, it's a public holiday. Every day is a public holiday over there. I'm like, okay, so everybody works different way. So it was hard for you to find a job in spite of you speaking French.
Yeah.
Okay. And integrating, you mentioned that integrating in the country was difficult?
Especially on my first year, it was difficult. As I said, obviously everyone is different, but I feel that French people are much more direct than Brazilians, and that sometimes might sound a bit odd.
Rude?
Yeah, a bit rude. And then You might take things personally, and until you realize that no, this is how they are, and then you start opening up. They also take their time to open up to other people. So I think it took me easily 1 year, 1.5 years to start, okay, making proper friends and, you know.
French people, there is no beating around the bush. It's black, it's white, you do this, you do that, finish. You know, I have seen people who they have to tell one thing, but they take you around the world to come to that point. Here, there's not like that. And you know, it's not rude. It's the perfect way of life. You have to be direct and not waste the other person's time, you know. Yeah. I like this place, and I like the bakery, the boulangerie.
Yes.
That's the reason I'm still here. No. So Issa, family law.
Yeah.
Right. Migration is one thing that I practice. Okay, I do a lot of visa applications for people migrating to Australia. When I came to Marseille, I saw so many migrants here, right? And I was like, wow, this is so multicultural. And you are here right in Marseille and dealing with all those kind of different visas, different services that you provide. So what was the recent difficult situation that you covered?
Recent, there are many, but I think the one that pops out a lot in the past 1 or 2 years is the difficulties caused because before, when you needed a titre de séjour, a visa, you would go to the prefecture in person. It was awful. You would arrive 3 a.m., stay in the line, spend your entire day there, but you would talk to a human being. Since 2021, I think they've been digitalizing this procedure in France, which is supposed to be a very nice thing. I was actually quite excited when this started. But what happened is this system is very flawed. The prefectures are not adapted to it. The system has lots of bugs and takes lots of time to resolve. And what happens is you don't get to talk to a human being. Whatever problem you have, you send emails, you send messages, you call, all you get is automatic messages and people telling you to wait. So when I started practicing, most of my clients were either illegal immigrants who got caught or who wanted to legalize. And nowadays, most of my clients are people in a legal situation who need to renew their titre. They have a problem with the ANF website, or the prefecture is not processing things on time, so they don't have a document to present to their employer. So basically stuff related to this digital procedure and the fact that the prefecture doesn't answer directly, they just keep ignoring, and then you cannot talk to a human being. So right now I think those are the worst cases. I actually had a hearing recently in Paris. This woman, she's the mother of a European kid. She, in between, became the mother of a French kid. She's been living in this country for, I think, almost as long as me. She is on a maternity leave and she needs to go back to work. But the prefecture has been taking 1 year to analyze her procedure, was refusing to give her any provisory documents. And one day they simply just closed her case online saying, you took too long to apply, so we're not processing your request. That's when she contacted me. We started a procedure in court. When I told this to the judge started laughing, like, this is completely absurd. And before contacting the judge, I obviously sent letters and email to the prefecture who told me, just wait. So when I showed all this stuff to the judge, even the judge who deals with this on a daily basis started laughing and saying, this is just absurd. So because she did something late, the mother of a French kid cannot have her case analyzed and stay here without a document. So this was a couple weeks ago, and 2 days ago, because it takes some time to get the decision, you don't get at the hearing itself. So a couple days ago, he finally sent the decision telling the prefecture you have 2 or 3 days to give her the document and restart the procedure, and then you have 2 months to give a final answer, something. But this is like one case of something that I see a lot.
Oh, wow. Okay. And you do lots of family law, you mentioned. So is it the refugee visa you do?
I don't do much of refugee. This is a bit of a different procedure. I don't do that much. For the family law, what I do most, immigration, I do a lot of different kind of visa. Family law, it's mostly divorces or dispute for custody and alimony, because I actually started with working with immigration and everything, because I saw this kind of violation and all the difficulties, and that touched me. So I started working with this. And while working with immigration, I realized that many women stayed in abusive relationships because they didn't know they had the right to make a complaint and leave that person and still remain friends, or they would be afraid they would lose the custody of their kid because the husband is French and the judge will favor the husband. That's not how it works, but those are the things they would get convinced by their husbands. If you leave, you have to go back to your country, the kid will stay with me. So all this kind of stuff, and that's when I started studying family law and then working and getting family law cases.
Okay, wow, fantastic. Issa, I want to talk to you about the boat people.
Okay.
Now, when I think of boat people in my country, we have an island and they all come there. We put them there. I shouldn't say the word put them there. We organize them there, and then from there we organize their papers, and then they come into Australia. So the island is away from Australia. But when I see Marseille, I see boats on the viewport. And is that how people come in? Explain me how it works.
It depends. I mean, there are many ways of entering France. If you're already coming with a visa, or if you're coming seeking asylum, and then you can request your visa here. So it really depends. The proper way is obviously coming already with your visa. You have sometimes people who will as I said, I don't do much of asylum, but I do some other type of cases that are human trafficking cases. So sometimes what happens is these people get convinced that they are coming here to work or on a proper visa, while the people who are bringing them are actually organizing just like a tourist visa and this kind of stuff.
The middleman.
The middleman, yes.
Okay.
So these cases I have less here in Marseille. I have a lot in the north. Like Normandy, Bretagne, because there they have a lack of workers to work with, like butchery, kind of stuff. So it happens a lot that these people will organize to bring the foreigners. The foreigners many times think they are coming to work on a proper working visa, or they get convinced that the working visa will get resolved once they arrive here. These people make it look like they are coming for tourism. Once they arrive here and they start working, then we say human trafficking. We think these people are all locked in a basement, being beaten up. That's not what happens. These people, they borrow money to come to France. Once they arrive here, they are paid less than a minimum wage. Then they have to pay for the place where they are staying, because these people will put, okay, we have a house for you, you stay here. They put like 10 people in the house, and they will charge like 300, 400 euros per person. Then you are in the middle of nowhere, so you need to go to work, you need to use the car. The company will give you the car, but you need to pay 150 euros for the company car. Then for whatever reason, they will deduct money from your salary. You use too much hot water, you broke something in the house. So in the end of the day, they don't have enough money to make through the month and still repay the debt they made to come here. So even though they are overworked, underpaid, all these things not being followed, they don't have a proper way of living, especially when they find out that they are here illegally. And then these people will tell them, if you leave and you go to the police and say things are happening here, they are just gonna send you back, they are gonna arrest you because you're here illegally. So it really, you have lots of different profiles. You might have people who come normally with visas. You might have people coming seeking asylum, so they are either persecuted in their country or for many reasons. And you have people who many times are tricked coming to here, and once they arrive, the situation is not at all different. So in terms of immigrants, I have people like from the human trafficking, and I have people who came here on a passport talent with all the VIP stuff. So the file is very different.
Oh wow! So human trafficking, this is like you have elaborated in a very different way. When the government finds out they are illegal, what happens?
So for instance, Eventually, thankfully, one of these people will create a courage and go to the police. Most of the times, my experience with the police here in those cases is amazing. I had one bad experience. All the police officers were very nice. They went and found translators and started the investigation and put lots of work and thought into it. The problem is these people don't speak French. They try to ask for help for social assistants or French lawyers, but they cannot communicate. And obviously the police cannot keep translators for everything they will do.
Yeah.
So they have lots of trouble communicating, because these people, they have the right to remain in France and they get a titre de séjour, a visa, to stay here and cooperate with the police throughout the entire investigation. And in theory, they should have something similar to asylum seekers, so a small amount of money get allocated in a proper place, but it's very hard for them to access these rights because they cannot communicate. So,
where are they from?
Many places. So because I speak Portuguese, I end up taking lots of Brazilians, because when they find out somebody with whom they can talk and explain and everything, so then eventually they end up coming to me. But basically any country that, any non-European country, they might come.
You think there's lots of Brazilians here?
Oh, yes.
Why?
So I'm not sure. So many Brazilians, what I see a lot is, and even with these human trafficking victims, Brazil and Portugal, they have agreements to facilitate immigration because, I mean, former colony, same language and everything. So there are lots of Brazilians who go to Portugal. And there are lots of Portuguese who have companies here in France. So eventually they see, okay, we need people to work for us. We know all these Brazilians are looking for a job there. Let's get them a visa and bring them in. This is the proper way and the good way, because France does lack people to work in construction, and Brazilians do have that knowledge. So this is a good agreement for all the countries and everyone involved. Unfortunately, so when a Brazilian goes to Portugal, you can go without a visa, arrive there and say, I'm interested in staying. So for Brazilians, it's in their head, it's normal to arrive and after request the visa. So sometimes they get convinced that in France it works the same way, and that's when they get into the human trafficking and everything, because once they arrive here, they don't have the document, they made debts, so they cannot afford to go back to Portugal or go back to Brazil. So I end up getting in touch with more Brazilians, but I'm aware that there are many different nationalities that end up falling for the same kind of tricks.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you actually are dealing with migration, you're dealing with family law, you know rules and regulations of many other countries. Do you think the rules and regulations of France is much better, the lifestyle is much better as compared to other countries? That's the reason they are moving here, or is there any other reason?
The reason why they're moving here is because the salary here in France is much higher than in Brazil, than in Portugal, than the countries where they come from. Usually, especially these people who get tricked, the minimum wage where they are coming from is something like 200 euros. So even if they manage to save 50 euros in a month and send back home, that is a lot.
200 euros a month?
200, maybe 300, if you have a proper job, because many times they are working informal jobs, so it really varies. So for them, hearing the amount 1,500 euros is like, that's a lot. So usually they come for economical reasons. I know French people many times think, oh, people come here because of the social security system. I don't think these immigrants even know how social security works here, and except for some people who have very serious disease and come here because there are specialized treatments. Most of the immigrants who come because of the euro, because of the idea of making money in euro. I find French immigration laws are okay. The problem is the application of the law. If everything that's written on the code was followed as it should, I think things would be much better for everyone. The problem is it's very hectic, everything is always delayed. The prefectures they don't have enough staff to deal with the amount of immigrants we have here, and then things start getting out of control.
That's the thing. There's not enough people to look after the amount of immigrants that are in the country. So is there a way that can be like balanced? The amount of immigrants that you let in can be controlled. Is it possible?
It's hard. I think French government is trying to take some measures, because what happens is many of these immigrants, they come here pretending to come for tourists. It's very normal to come to France, visit Paris, Europe for touristic purpose. So it's hard sometimes for the immigration agent to identify, is this person coming to stay or just tourism? What happens is, if the person stays here illegally, eventually they might get an obligation to leave the territory. Those are very hard to enforce, especially depending of the country where this person comes from. So for instance, because I have lots of Brazilian clients, I know Brazil cooperates with France to send back their immigrants. There are many countries who do not cooperate, and for these countries, France is slowly making it harder to give tourist visa or to allow these foreigners to enter, because once they
Which is a good thing, right?
It is, because you need to control who is entering. You have two problems, because France does need these immigrants and this workforce. So in my humble opinion, I think there should be more work visas being granted so they come in the proper way. On the other hand, these people are trying to enter here illegally and without any business, and this is something France should not be allowing. So it's good that they are controlling, especially when it's hard to send back the immigrant. But on the other hand, they need to also make sure that, because like for instance, these companies I was mentioning in the north, they lack workers. I have constantly the employers calling me and saying, I don't know what to do anymore, because I try to bring people abroad to work here and the requests they get denied. Then I have all these people who I know are here. I know they are illegal. I try to request the prefecture to fix their situation so they can work. That is denied, and then they get an obligation to leave the territory. And then like I cannot find a way, how can I get people to work here? So I don't know, maybe might be naive or something like this, but in my way of thinking, I think these two things, they should go together: the stopping the illegal immigrants entering on the wrong way, and at the same time making it easier for places where France needs to get those immigrants in the correct way, integrating the society and following the rules and everything. And especially to avoid this kind of things of tricking people, working in conditions that are not in agreement with the French law. So it's a very big problem, not easy to resolve.
I went to a church and I met up, it's a church group, they were teaching, speaking English. So I met up with two people from different countries, okay? One was from Congo and the other one is an African country. And they actually recently got their papers. So they were illegal, but they got their papers now, they're ready, and it took them like 7 years to get that paper. They can't speak French. They've been here for 7 years, which I think is wrong. Okay, if you've been in this country, you need to integrate, you need to learn the culture, you need to learn the language. You are in a different country, you accept that country's language, their culture, and you follow that. So I found that fault. The second fault is, the second thing I realized is they all live like in one apartment, and they said that my owner's employer has given us, and we are 8 of them. 8 in one apartment. So, and he's trying to find a different place to go. So as you mentioned, they are being exploited. And then I was like, it's very wrong, you're not learning French. He said, we are not given time. We are out working 12 hours. When will we go and learn French? And everybody that we are working are migrants. No one speaks French. And this is when now it clicks what you are telling me.
And these people, like as I told you, I work a lot with Brazilians because of the language, and other Portuguese-speaking countries. These people, they come from very poor areas in Brazil. So even their Portuguese level is not amazing. Many times, I mean, Portuguese is my mother tongue. Many times they tell me things I just don't understand, especially if they are writing. If they are talking, it's easier. Sometimes I tell them things that for me are very basic, but because they are very, very simple people, even in Portuguese, they have trouble understanding some stuff. As you said, they work many, many hours. If these people are here in Marseille or if they are in the Paris area, still you have lots of public transportation. But if they are in other places in France, it's not that easy to go to places. So many of them, sometimes, as you said, they are like 10 in one apartment. They have one car that is the company car. They are only allowed to use it to go to work. So even just going to, because you have the mairie here who has like free French courses, but even reaching the mairie, sometimes it's not easy for them. And this is why it's important to also think about the legal migration, because when the immigrant comes here, depending on the type of visa, they have to follow some classes that are about integrating on the French culture, how these things work in France, what are the principles of the Republic. From 2026 onwards, you're going to need a certain French level to get a multi-year visa, which will stimulate foreigners to learn French so they can stay longer without renewing their visa. So I think there are lots of bad things on the immigration, but these little things for integrating the foreigner, I think it's actually very important. But I'm not surprised. I have clients who are here illegally in work conditions that are very, very poor. Many of them have been here for more than a decade and they barely speak conversational French. Because of that, they are working 12 hours a day, going to a home full with other immigrants with no private space, no free time, no opportunity to actually integrate the French society.
It's very sad. It's very sad. So is anyone doing something about it?
As I said, the police certainly investigate this kind of cases. The problem is for the police, I don't do much the penal part, but I feel they put lots of effort. We have lots of trouble with the prefecture. So these people who are here, the human trafficking victims, for instance, usually you have this thing called the aide juridictionnelle here in France, which the government will pay you a lawyer. This is for procedures in court. The government will not pay me to request a titre de séjour for them, and they don't have the money to pay me to do that for them, and they don't know how to do that alone. So eventually I work out something with them. Once you get the titre, we'll see, whatever, because I mean it has to be done. Then I start doing this, requesting. So right now I have 3 of them. I send the thing. So there is a visa that's called a victim of human trafficking. So if you go to the police, you make a complaint. This complaint gets classified as one of the human trafficking kind of things. You get to go to the prefecture and request a titre de séjour. So these people, they have a complaint who is properly written victim of human trafficking. And the prefecture just keep refusing and saying, you're not allowed to request this visa. And then we ask why, and they say, you don't fill the conditions. And then we say, but we do, and they say, no, you don't. So these people who already didn't have the money to pay me to do the request, they don't have the money to pay me to do the appeal. So, and they also are not entitled to the government legal aid. So what I'm doing now is I'm gonna do the appeal because it's outrageous, and then I'm going to explain the situation to the judge and ask the judge to force the prefecture to pay me some fees. How much will I make? The judge will decide. Will the judge decide I have to be paid? I don't even know. I just trust the legal system. Eventually I'll get paid, but I don't even know if I will. And these are people who found a lawyer who is available and willing to help them. And that's not always easy because, I mean, we as lawyers, we make our living.
Absolutely.
I take a quote of social cases But if I already took enough social cases, I cannot take everyone. And same thing for other lawyers. And they found somebody who speaks their language, because if not, they wouldn't even be able to communicate everything that's happening. I have another case that the prefecture, so this couple, it's not written victim of human trafficking on their complaint, but there is a legal definition of what is a human trafficking victim, and on their complaint is all the stuff that's on the definition. The prefecture has denied, saying it's not written human trafficking, it's hitting all the stuff for human trafficking, but you don't read human trafficking, so it's not human trafficking. Then I went and did the appeal. They had a provisory document because we had done the request, they got the provisory document, so they were working. I asked the judge, please force the prefecture to grant them a temporary visa while we wait for the answer, so they don't lose their job. The judge answered me that their job has not yet been suspended, and if they have money to pay a lawyer, they have enough money to wait the end of the procedure, without knowing anything of how they are paying or how much they are paying me. So last Friday they lost their job. I spoke, explained everything to their employer. The employer waited for 3 months. Eventually he told me, Isadora, I'm really sorry, but I'm gonna have to suspend because this has been going for too long. So now I did another request saying now they are out of a job, is now urgent, can you please give them a provisory document? We're gonna find out if he will or not.
My God.
But these things makes me, I like working with immigration because, and family law, because when you get good results, you see people's life getting better. Mm-hmm. But when you get bad results, it kind of, boils you up from inside.
Absolutely.
You know?
So Issa, the next question for me to you is, yes, we love helping. We love the migration process. We want them to come into the country. Who's going to pay us? That's the thing that you said that, you're trying to get. Did you ever feel burnt out? You're like, oh my God, this is too much. I have done it for free. I cannot handle it. How do you get over those situations?
So I have to balance things because we have different profiles of immigrants. So I have people who are here on a talent visa. I have people who are here on a work visa, on a student visa, vie privée familiale. These are people who can pay me, and then I will ask my proper fees. I leave a small amount of cases for social cases, and then I work out. So for instance, the human trafficking victims, I usually tell them, once you get your thing and you start working, you can pay me whatever. Happily enough, they all paid me because, once the work is done, you don't actually have how to...
Because you helped them in a situation where no one was there.
Yes, but
they're grateful to you.
Yeah, and that makes me happy. Yeah. But I had to put a limit because when I started working, I'm a person who gets easily touched by injustice.
Yeah.
This is part of why I became a lawyer. So when I started working, I started getting very burned out because I would be like, these people, I need to help, I need to, and then when I would get a bad result, even if I did my best and it was just a poor decision from the prefecture or something, I would take that very personally to change that. Eventually, I realized I need to put a limit on what is my social part and a limit on what is my business. And then obviously the people who pay me, they allow me to make my living and they allow me to attribute a small amount of my time to the people who cannot.
Wow, okay. Oh my gosh. So Issa, if there's 3 advices that you would like to give our viewers on your life or migration life or life in France, what would that be?
Well, first, certainly learn French as much as you can because it's not easy learning a different culture. If you don't speak, if you cannot understand French, you don't even know what your rights are and you're gonna get very exploited. Yeah. Second, seek for help and seek information because I see immigrants here sometimes they're like, things will work out, things are gonna happen. Don't do this. You have in all the courts, tribunal judiciaire here in France, you have lawyers who stay there for free legal advice for people who cannot pay. So if you have a doubt about your rights as family law or your immigration rights or how to do, go to this place. And you cannot afford, obviously, if you can hire a lawyer, but if you cannot, go to these places and get proper information, because people many times hear you need to do this, but this was some very different case. They do something wrong, and by the time they realize, their situation became a huge snowball. So seek for information and seek for help, and try to have patience, because French bureaucracy, it's necessary.
Long journey.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time,
You're
Isha.
welcome.
Thank you.